When President Trump stood on that stage and said, "Your right to carry doesn't end at the state line," it lit up the gun community like a signal flare. It wasn't just a talking point. It was a direct challenge to every state that's been treating law-abiding carriers like criminals the second they cross a border. And not long after that speech, Congress pulled a familiar name from the shelf, H.R. 38, the so-called Constitutional Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act. 200 co-sponsors. Memes flying across social media. Gun groups calling it the biggest win in years. But not everyone was cheering. Because if you actually read the bill, line by line, you'll find traps buried in the fine print. Traps that could turn a peaceful, legal carrier into a felon overnight. In this video, we're going to break down what H.R. 38 really says, the hidden legal landmines most people haven't noticed, and the push from pro-Second Amendment lawyers who are warning, fix it now or regret it later. This is Firearms Zone. Let's get into it. Trump's pledge and H.R. 38's revival. From promise to paperwork. When Trump won re-election, he didn't wait long to fire the first shot on gun policy. He stood in front of a crowd and said what every carrier across the country had been waiting to hear. The Second Amendment doesn't stop at the state line. That line hit home. For years, everyday Americans, truckers, nurses, parents on road trips, have been treated like criminals just for carrying across state borders with a legal permit. So when the administration backed H.R. 38, it felt like the answer we'd been waiting for. A national carry reciprocity law. If you're licensed to carry in your home state, it would apply nationwide. Simple, fair, common sense. Within weeks, lawmakers dusted off the bill, rebranded it as the Constitutional Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act, and fast-tracked it to the House Judiciary Committee. Gun groups jumped in. 200 co-sponsors signed on. The NRA called it the biggest step since the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act. Memes flew online comparing carry permits to marriage licenses. If a Vegas wedding is valid in New York, why not your concealed carry? Momentum was strong. The committee advanced the bill by an 18-9 vote. Press briefings promised a floor vote. The White House hinted that the president might sign it at a public rally, surrounded by carriers from all 50 states. Everything looked perfect on the surface. But if you've spent any time in the gun rights world, you know this much. When a bill moves fast, you'd better read the fine print. Firearms Policy Coalition's warnings. The watchdogs read what others skipped. Now, while most gun groups were out fundraising and posting memes, one team actually sat down and read every line of H.R. 38. We're talking about the Firearms Policy Coalition, not your average lobby group. FPC isn't selling memberships and T-shirts. They're the legal crew filing lawsuits against California, New York, and any state that dares to infringe on the Second Amendment. And they've got the largest dedicated 2A litigation team in the country. So when they raise red flags, I pay attention. And that's exactly what they did. FPC went through the bill line by line and called out 3 major flaws that could flip this bill from a win into a trap. And here's the worst part. These aren't complicated legal theories. They're simple wording problems that could turn peaceful carriers into unintentional felons. So if you've got a carry permit and you think this bill protects you, hold that thought. Let's break down what FPC found, because it changes everything. The wallet problem. One card away from becoming a felon. Imagine this. You're on the road, legally carrying with your permit. A quick stop. Maybe a tail light out. State trooper pulls you over. No big deal. You're clean, legal, polite. But when he asks for ID, you realize your wallet's back at the diner. Under H.R. 38, as it's written, that moment turns you from law-abiding carrier to criminal suspect. The bill demands you have both a valid photo ID and your physical carry permit on you at all times. No digital backup, no verbal explanation, no warning. Forget your wallet, and in some states, that's enough for arrest, weapon confiscation, and felony charges that could end your gun rights for life. This isn't theoretical. In anti-gun jurisdictions, prosecutors treat missing paperwork like a trophy hunt. FPC calls this out directly. They want the bill amended to allow reasonable identification, digital, backup, or verification through law enforcement databases. Because if the goal is to protect peaceful carriers, we shouldn't be setting traps for forgetting a piece of plastic. The public space loophole. When public doesn't mean safe. Let's say you're traveling through a state that recognizes your permit under H.R. 38. You stop at a park, maybe a library, or you walk past a post office on the sidewalk. You think you're good, your permit's valid, your firearm's concealed, but what you don't know is this. Under the bill's current language, states still have the power to declare entire categories of public spaces as gun-free zones, and they don't need metal detectors, warning signs, or controlled entry. All it takes is a hidden line of code in state law or a sticker on a door the size of a postage stamp. Suddenly, that sidewalk, that park, that public plaza, it's now a sensitive location. And just by walking through with your CCW, you've committed a felony. No intent required, no grace period, no uniform signage rules. This is the loophole FPC warned about, where states can opt in to reciprocity, then turn around and weaponize local laws to bait carriers into violations. They're calling for specific language that blocks this abuse, because if a carry law is full of hidden no-go zones, then it's not really reciprocity. It's a trap. The single pistol clause. Only one gun, one mag, one chance. Now, here's a detail most folks miss, until it's too late. H.R. 38, as written, only protects the specific handgun listed on your permit. Not your backup gun. Not your spare magazine. Not even your box of ammo in the glove compartment. Let's say you're carrying your primary firearm, Glock 19. No problem, but you've also got a pocket-sized Ruger LCP in an ankle holster, and a spare mag on your belt. If you're stopped in a state that plays strict, guess what? They can say, that LCP isn't listed. That second mag isn't covered. Those rounds? Unauthorized. Now you're no longer carrying under reciprocity. You're in violation. This clause ignores how real people carry. No trained professional rolls with just one loaded magazine and nothing else. Even law enforcement has legal coverage for backup weapons and spare gear. FPC called this out. They want expanded protection that mirrors LEOSA, the federal carry law for retired law enforcement. At minimum, the law should cover your primary, a backup, and standard defensive loadout. Because the point isn't to limit your gear. The point is to protect your rights. The Federal Gun-Free School Zones Act. The silent federal landmine. Here's the part almost nobody talks about. And it might be the most dangerous flaw in the entire bill. H.R. 38 does not override the Federal Gun-Free School Zones Act. That's Title 18, Section 922, Paragraph Q. Yeah, the same federal law that makes it a felony to possess a loaded firearm within 1,000 feet of a school, unless you have a valid permit from the state you're physically standing in. Let that sink in. You could have a permit from Texas. You're legal under H.R. 38. But if you walk past a school in New Jersey, you've just violated federal law, because your permit wasn't issued by that state. And if you're a constitutional carry holder with no permit at all, you've got zero protection, no warning, no sign, just invisible borders around tens of thousands of schools nationwide. FPC didn't mince words on this. They said, if this bill doesn't fix 922Q, then it's not national reciprocity. It's a federal trap. Because here's the bottom line. You could be doing everything right and still end up on the wrong side of a felony rap sheet, just for driving your kid to soccer practice near a school you didn't even know existed. Legislative challenges and FPC's campaign. Before this gets passed wrong. Now, here's the harsh truth. Even if we all agreed that H.R. 38 is a good idea, it's not ready yet. And Congress? They're in a hurry. The House floor calendar is packed. The Senate is worse. And political momentum is building fast. But speed comes with a cost. Because when bills move too fast, things get missed. Or worse, they get edited behind closed doors. A rider gets slipped in. A poison pill gets buried in subsection 29. Or the Senate rewrites it into something unrecognizable, then dares the House to vote no. FPC knows this game. They've seen it happen before. That's why they launched a national campaign. Not to kill the bill, but to fix it before it hits the Senate floor. Emails, phone calls, targeted pressure on Judiciary Committee members, and they're not shouting or fundraising. They're offering real legislative fixes, because a bill that looks good on a podium can turn into a landmine in court if it's not written right. And once it passes, it's locked in. Good luck fixing it later. Why fixing H.R. 38 matters? You don't get a second shot at federal law. We've been here before. Back in 1986, gun owners cheered when Congress passed the Firearm Owners Protection Act. It was supposed to protect us. But in the final hours, A last-minute amendment slammed the door shut on machine guns for civilians. Forever. That's the danger of rushing a Pro-2A bill. Once it's signed, it becomes the new law of the land. Even if it's got holes you could drive a truck through. That's what FPC is trying to stop. Not the bill itself, just the parts that leave honest gun owners exposed. Because if we pass this version of H.R. 38 as is, anti-gun states will use it as a trap disguised as a victory. They'll say, "See? We gave you national carry. You just didn't read the fine print?" And worse, if this passes broken, it'll be nearly impossible to fix later. Congress doesn't like touching gun bills twice. Fixing it now means no bait-and-switch loopholes, no paperwork traps, no hidden felony zones. It means giving lawful carriers real protection, not just a press conference headline. Because if we mess this up, it won't just hurt one state or one case. It'll set back the entire national carry movement for a generation. Proposed amendments. Fix it before you pass it. So what needs to change before H.R. 38 is ready for prime time? It's not a total rewrite, but these 4 fixes could turn it from a liability into real protection. 1. Remove the wallet trap. Don't make lawful carriers criminals just because they forgot a piece of plastic. Add language that allows electronic ID or real-time verification through law enforcement systems. 2. Protect full loadouts, not just one pistol. Add explicit coverage for a backup gun, spare mags, and ammunition, just like LEOSA gives to retired officers. 3. Shut down the sensitive location loophole. Require states to clearly post no carry zones. No more secret sticker traps. No more invisible gun-free sidewalks. 4. Address the school zone landmine. Either override Section 922Q or grant an exemption to all permit holders, including constitutional carry, when traveling interstate. These aren't radical changes. They're common sense for anyone who understands what real-world concealed carry looks like. Because writing a carry law that criminalizes carriers defeats the whole point. If Congress is serious about fixing the problem, this is the moment to get it right. The path forward. Fix it now or fight it later. Right now, H.R. 38 has the political wind at its back. It's passed committee. It's gaining co-sponsors. It's got presidential support. But if we don't fix the flaws before it hits the Senate, we may not get another shot. Because once it passes, it locks in. And every vague sentence, every loophole, every legal trap stays in place until someone challenges it in court. And that someone might be you, after a traffic stop, a wrong turn, or a sticker you didn't see on a door. That's why FPC isn't saying, kill the bill. They're saying, fix it before it passes. They've launched a national push. Emails, phone calls, legal analysis, to make sure lawmakers know exactly what's broken and how to fix it. No politics, no shouting, just precision and pressure. And that's where you come in. Whether you're a CCW holder, a constitutional carry advocate, or just someone who believes the Second Amendment doesn't end at the state line, now is the time to speak up. So here's the bottom line. H.R. 38 could be one of the biggest wins for gun owners in decades, but only if it's done right. Because if we rush this bill through as is, we're not just risking bad policy. We're handing anti-gun states a blueprint to trap lawful carriers on technicalities. Firearms Policy Coalition isn't ringing alarm bells for fun. They've read the fine print, and they know what sloppy legislation can cost. We're not saying kill the bill. We're saying fix it first, then pass it. And if you agree, now's the time to act. Call your reps. Send the email. Back the people doing real work in the courts and the Capitol. Because the Second Amendment doesn't stop at the state line. But your rights can, if Congress gets lazy with the language. If you found this breakdown useful, smash that like button, subscribe to Firearms Zone, and drop a comment below. We want to know where you stand on national reciprocity and what fixes you think matter most. Until next time, stay sharp, stay lawful, and we'll see you on the range.